Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Leslie, and I'm a state park interpreter here at Henry Cowell Redwoods State Park. Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining us, Junior Rangers. Hopefully you've been tuning in to the various Junior Ranger programs that we're offering virtually this summer. Typically, Junior Rangers meet with us, state park interpreters, in campgrounds or visitor centers throughout the California State Park system. Here at Henry Cowell, we often meet you in the campground, but unfortunately, because COVID-19 is in our community, we're unable to meet with you in person. That makes me really sad because I love seeing all your faces and getting to talk to you and take you out on the trails while we're learning about our particular Junior Ranger topic for the day. But to make up for not being able to meet with you in person, instead, we are bringing our Junior Ranger programs to you in the comfort of your home. Or wherever you may be staying right now. Maybe you're watching from your tent in a campground. But once again, welcome to Henry Cowell Redwood State Park. My name is Leslie, and we are going to be talking about what it means to be plant-powered. Yeah, by the end of this program, you might learn that you are plant-powered. I'm plant-powered. Most of nature that we see here at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park is plant-powered. Now, plants are really cool. They are actually nature's all-in-one toolkit. What do I mean by toolkit? Is that a hammer? Do plants have hammers that they carry around in a toolkit? No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the many things that plants and trees provide to animals and you and I so that we can survive in our habitats or home. So before we learn about the many tools in a plant's all-in-one toolkit, I want to talk quickly about the different parts of a plant. In this case, we're going to talk about a tree, but know that trees are plants. They have a little bit of differences between flowers and low-lying plants, but trees are plants. So if you have your paper ready and your drawing tools, so maybe you have a pencil or some markers or crayons, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, maybe 2 minutes, to draw a tree. Okay, now I'm going to turn the camera around because right now I'm on the deck of the visitor center and it's really hard to see the trees, right? Because behind me is a building. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can look at some of the redwood trees that are right here at the Henry Cowell Redwood State Park Visitor Center. And maybe you'll get some ideas of some of the plant parts that you'll be drawing. So bear with me 1 second. I'm going to turn this camera around so you can get a better view of these gorgeous trees. And maybe I'll move this camera around too so that you can see the base of the tree. And when I say base of the tree, I'm talking about the portion of the tree that rests on the ground level there. What do you notice? What kind of parts do trees have? Let's see if I can move the camera up a little more. Now, I'm not going to give it away by telling you any of the parts of the tree because we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But let's keep going and going and going all the way to the top of the tree. Now, redwood trees are some of the tallest living things in the world. Here at Henry Cowell, we have redwood trees that are a little over 250 feet tall. And I'm located nearby one of our tallest redwood trees in this park. So we can barely see the top. Oh my gosh. Now, there are other redwood state parks in California, like north of us in Northern California, that have even taller trees. Now, some redwoods can grow taller than the Statue of Liberty. Can you imagine flying over New York City and seeing a redwood tree right next to the Statue of Liberty? And having that redwood tree be taller than the Statue of Liberty? That's pretty amazing, right? Yeah, these trees are wonderful. And we're going to be talking about the parts of the tree that help them to function so that they can survive in their habitat. And after we do that, then we're going to get into the toolkit that they have to help animals and you and I survive in our homes or habitat. Okay, so I think I've talked for about 2 minutes, maybe a little bit less. So if you're finished drawing your tree, let me make sure that this camera doesn't go anywhere while I'm talking to you guys. And we are going to now talk about some of the parts of a tree, which all plants share as well. So the first part of the tree that I want to talk about, and actually I'm going to share a drawing of a tree with you. All right, hopefully you can see this tree here. And this drawing is from a website called education.com. And I love using their drawings for my junior ranger programs. Now, maybe you forgot to draw the part of the tree that's under the ground, because oftentimes we don't see this part of the tree. But if you did remember to draw the root system, which grows underground, I'm going to give you extra junior ranger points. Good job for that. Yes. So the roots grow underground, and you can kind of think of roots like the drinking straws in our world. So when you go through like a drive-through and order fast food, and maybe you order juice or a soda, and you have a straw, and what does that straw help you do? Yeah, it might help you pull the liquid or whatever that drink is in your cup from the cup into your mouth. Well, think of roots like straws. They help to bring water and minerals and nutrients from the ground up to the rest of the tree. Yes, so roots help to bring water and nutrients from the ground up to the rest of the tree. So the next part of the tree that I would like to talk about is the trunk of the tree. Now, there are many different plants in the world and here in Henry Cowell Redwood State Park, and not all of them have trunks. Only trees have trunks, but plants have something called a stem. But because I asked you to draw a tree, we're going to focus on the trunk of the tree. Now, the trunk of the tree provides support and structure. It also continues the movement of water and nutrients from the roots up further into the plant. Now, we can think of the trunk of a tree kind of like the bones in our body. Yes, mammals have skeletons, and our skeletons are really hard and they're strong, and they help us to stand up nice and tall and to sit up in our chairs nice and tall, right? Well, the trunk is helping the tree to stand nice and tall. The next part of the tree that I want to discuss with you really quickly are the branches. Yes. So the branches provide support. They provide secondary support. So the trunk is the primary support of the tree. The stem is the primary support of plants that aren't trees. Well, branches are the support for the leaves. And in addition, they bring nutrients from the trunk to the leaves. So oftentimes, large branches from trees will fall on the ground. And so those branches, those large branches, are actually directly attached to the trunk. But then we have smaller branches that fall on the ground as well. And I'm going to stop sharing so you can see what I'm talking about. So you might see some larger branches resting against the redwood trees here. And then there's some smaller branches mixed in there as well. And those smaller branches are actually called twigs. Yeah. So there's a difference between the larger branch and the smaller branches, which we call twigs. And I have a twig of a redwood tree in my hand here. So I'm going to show you that. Well, let me turn the camera around. You can see this smaller branch here. It was probably broken off in a windstorm, or maybe when a larger branch might have knocked it off the tree there. Yeah. So the next part of the tree that I want to talk to you about are the leaves. The leaves are vital to the survival of the plant because guess what? That is where the plant makes food. Yeah. So I have some redwood leaves here. I'm going to hold them up to you or to the camera so you can see them. Yeah, they're nice and flat. They're green. Now, leaves that are green have something called chlorophyll in them. Can everybody say chlorophyll? Chlorophyll. Yes. And that chlorophyll helps the plant leaves make food. So I'm going to turn the camera around again so you don't watch me and we contemplate what is happening when the plant leaves are making food. So I'm going to turn this camera around so you can see all the trees and the green plants around these trees. So what happens is the leaves that are green and that have chlorophyll, they capture the energy from the sun. And once that energy is captured in those leaves and their chlorophyll, then they take some water, which is inside the plant, and that energy from the sun, and they make glucose or sugar, which is the food for the plant. And this process is called photosynthesis. Can everybody say photosynthesis? Photosynthesis. Yeah, and if you were to go on to college and study plants in college, you would get a very in-depth lesson
on the process of photosynthesis. It's really complex. But for today's program, I'm just going to give you the intro to photosynthesis by telling you that plants with chlorophyll capture the energy from the sun and they mix that energy with water to create food in the form of a sugar called glucose. Now, why is that so important to plants? Well, without the ability to make their own food, plants would not survive. They don't have mouths like you and I. How do we get our food? We use our mouths, right, to chew food. Plants don't have teeth. They can't pick up an apple and eat the apple. Instead, they have to make their own food. Now, as they capture the energy from the sunlight and turn it into food through photosynthesis, they also breathe in carbon dioxide. And when they breathe out, or also known as respire, they release oxygen into the air. Now, some of you might be starting to understand why plants and trees are so important to animals and you and I and other human beings all over the world, right? Yeah, because they create oxygen. So I want to talk to you about plants all in one toolkit. All right. I want to start out by asking you what you ate for breakfast. Did you eat redwood leaves? Probably not. Did you eat acorns? Maybe. Did you eat bark or wood? Probably not bark or wood either. But plants provide a large portion of food to not just animals like birds and squirrels, deer, many different other forest animals, and animals all over the world. But we also take parts of a plant and turn them into food for humans like you and I. So let's see, maybe you ate cereal for breakfast. If you had cereal for breakfast, you were probably eating part of a plant. So this cereal here, right here, it says oats and almonds. This is my favorite cereal to eat besides Lucky Charms. But there are plant parts here. There are nuts, which are the almonds. Oats are part of a plant. Yeah, there's probably corn in here. There's corn. Yeah, there's flour, rice, cinnamon. That's part of a plant too. There are many different plant parts and types of plants in cereal. Some people don't want to eat cereal. Maybe they had toast, which is bread, and bread also has many different plant parts too, like flour, oats. Maybe depending on what type of bread you're eating, you might have nuts in your or seasoning, cinnamon, raisins. If you had cinnamon toast, maybe you decided you just wanted to eat an apple or an orange. Maybe you drank part of a plant too for breakfast. Did you have juice for breakfast? Yeah. So fruit and vegetables, like this apple here, are also parts of plants. Now, in Henry Cowell Redwood State Park, we have edible plants like blackberry bushes and strawberries. We have coffee berry bushes. We have acorn trees, which are oak trees, acorn trees. Get it together, Leslie. And that provides lots of different foods for many different animals, like birds, acorn woodpeckers to be exact, for the acorns, insects, rabbits, deer, mountain lions, and bobcats. We see all of those animals eating various types of berries and nuts and leaves in Henry Cowell Redwood State Park and in California state parks all over California. Now, we have been using plants for food for thousands and thousands of years. Farmers have been harvesting foods. Let me fix my camera just a little bit there. There we go. And they have been growing crops like potatoes and corn for many, many years. We would not be able to survive on this planet without plants. So much of our food comes from plants. And you know what? My brother, when he was little, did not want to eat any vegetables or fruit. He only wanted chicken and hamburgers. And guess what? If you were to only eat meat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you would still be eating plants, because most animals, like chickens, cows, pigs, they're eating plants. So when they eat plants, it goes through their body system. And then when we eat chicken nuggets or hamburgers or hot dogs, well, we take in a little bit of those plants into our bodies too. But please keep eating your fruits and vegetables. That's how we stay really healthy, right? We have a good balanced diet. Good. So let's think of another tool in the plant's all-in-one toolbox that might help animals and plants survive in the wild, in their homes. Now, I gave you a hint earlier when we were talking about leaves and photosynthesis. Do you remember what happens when trees breathe out or respire? Oh, that's right. They produce oxygen. Yeah, maybe some of you already shouted that out. Oxygen. Plants provide us and all living things with oxygen. Now, I want you to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Ooh, that feels good, right? To breathe in and out like that. Well, guess what? Humans breathe on average 20,000 times a day. I had to look that up. 20,000 times a day. And we do it without even thinking about it. And guess what? We have plants to thank for our ability to have oxygen so that we can live on planet Earth. Yes, we would not be able to survive on planet Earth if it weren't for plants helping to create oxygen. That is right.
So plants, so that tool in the toolbox is really important for all living things on Earth. Oxygen helps us to survive in our home, in our habitat. Good. Now, let's talk about tool number 3 in the plants all-in-one toolkit. What else do plants provide for humans? So maybe not necessarily animals in the wild, but if you have a domesticated animal or a pet, like a horse or a dog or a cat, what else do plants provide for us and our pets? It's tool number 3 in the toolbox. All right, I will give you a hint. What are my clothes and your pajamas made out of? Plants if they're cotton, plants if they're hemp. Yeah, people have been making clothing for thousands of years from plant fibers. And some of the earliest forms of clothing were from cotton and hemp. Later on, we started using wool, which is from an animal. And now we have all types of synthetic fibers in our that you can purchase for clothing as well. But plants provide fibers for a lot of our jackets and our shirts. This is a cotton shirt. Our jeans are made out of cotton. Maybe some synthetic fibers too. So plants provide us with warmth, right? Because it's really cold right now in the redwood forest. But luckily, thank you to plants, I have this nice warm jacket to help me stay warm. Maybe you're wrapped in a nice warm cotton blanket, or your pajamas are made out of cotton and you are resting and nice and cozy at home watching this program. Yeah. Okay. So tool number 3, this is the last tool I want to share with you before we move on to how we can protect plants in parks and in our neighborhoods and habitats near where you're living. So the last tool that I want to talk about with you in a plants all-in-one toolkit is shelter. Plants provide homes and protection, shelter, for animals in parks and in the ecosystem and habitats where they live, but they also provide shelter for us too. If you look behind me, do you see anything behind me that might be made from a plant? I'm going to move out of the way so you can get a good look. I think the doors and the walls from the Henry Cowell Redwood State Park Visitor Center are made out of wood. And the roof also is made out of wood shingles. Yeah. And oh, look, that bench right there is made out of wood. I guess we could take cover under the bench if it starts raining all of a sudden and I can't get into the visitor center. But we also have this really nice deck to keep us off of the plants that are right in front of me, made out of wood. Yeah. What is your home made out of? Are any parts of your home made out of plants, like wood? Some people in other parts of the world use grasses
to make their homes, their roofs, grass thatched roofs. They use large branches to make the walls of their home. Maybe they're using straw and mud to make adobe houses. Yeah, well, I'm going to turn the camera around now so we can look at possibly some animal homes for the plants that are located right in front of us. Let's see. I'm going to try and take you with me on a little walk. Now, I'm worried I might lose the connection, so we're not going to go too far. But let's see if we can get any ideas of animals that might make their home here in some of these plants. What about birds? I mentioned that here at Henry Cowell, we have acorn woodpeckers, or actually, I mentioned acorns as a type of food for plants. And the oak trees here at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park are visited pretty frequently by acorn woodpeckers. And those acorn woodpeckers make their nest inside the trunk of the oak tree. Oftentimes it's a snag, so that means the oak tree is not living anymore, but it's still a tree, right? And it provides a shelter for those acorn woodpeckers. We also see some trees at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park that have been burned hundreds of years ago. We haven't had a fire right here in this section of the park in quite some time. But over the years, those burn scars will crack with temperature changes, or maybe it experienced a couple of different fires, and it creates a hole at the base of the tree. Now, we call those holes created by fire goose pens. Why might we call those holes in the base of redwood trees created by fire goose pens? I'll give you a hint. Some early settlers in these areas would keep their geese and their chickens in those holes. They use them as chicken coops. But other animals will also use those hollowed out goose pens in the redwood trees for shelter as well. Maybe deer will hide in there, or fox and coyotes. Now, if we look down on the ground here, we see all of these, the clover down there and the redwood sorrel down there. Do you think animals might make their home in those plants? What about insects and banana slugs and spiders? Now, I do see a spider web stretched across some of the plants, but I don't think I can zoom in that closely. So I'm just going to show you an example of some of the spider webs that we see here on our deck. But guess what? Spiders are making their homes on the trunks of redwood trees too, and they string their nice webs across the plants as well. So spiders use plants to help them build their homes too. Yeah, great. So some of you might not have had a chance to watch this program live, and that's okay. You might be watching this at a later time or day. And I just want to let those of you know
that are watching, you still have a chance to earn a virtual Junior Ranger badge, just like those of you who are watching in person. And what's going to happen is in a little bit, we are going to post a question for you to answer. And that question has a way for you to contact me, Leslie, here at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park. So you'll send your answer to me in an email. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a photo of some of the ways that plants help us survive in the wild, and other animals too. Now, we didn't talk about all of these things, but let's go over some of the things plants provide us. So these are parts of the plant toolkit. So today we said plants provide food. They provide oxygen. They provide shelter. Other products like clothing, medicine. Yeah, they help to regulate water and maintain soil. They absorb carbon dioxide, which helps with climate change. And there are some studies that say that trees and plants help to reduce depression and stress and anxiety. So if you are experiencing a little bit of sadness, or if you're stressed out, or you have a little bit of anxiety, try taking a walk in the park near your home. Or if you happen to live close to Henry Cowell Redwood State Park, I want to invite you to come and hike on the trails here, even just for 20 minutes. They're proving that walking amongst plants and trees help to reduce those feelings of sadness and depression and stress and anxiety. Now, what are some of the ways that we can help to protect plants so that we can continue to survive in our habitat? I think it's Kyla. She asked if animals live on the top of the redwood trees, and they do, actually. They live in the redwood canopies. There are salamanders that live way up in the top of the trees. There are many different types of birds. There are other plants and flowers. You're right, Isaac. We can't make food without plants. And we can make food without plants, but the food that we all eat plants. So if we're not eating a plant, we're eating an animal that eats plants. So in a way, we can't make food without plants. You're right about that. Good job. So do any of you have any ideas of how we can help plants continue to survive? What are some things that we should do in parks to make sure that plants survive so that we can continue to have oxygen and food and clothing and shelter? Feel free to type your answers in the chat box if you'd like. Lucia, you're right. There are benches made out of wood here. I don't see anybody typing right now, and that's okay. But we are just about out of time. So if you do come up with some ideas of how we can protect plants in California state parks or here at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park so that they continue to provide their many tools in their toolbox so that we and animals can survive in their home and in their habitat. Well, one way that we help to protect plants here at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park is we create trail systems. So I'm located on a wooden deck, but just off to the side, we have a trail that we allow people to walk through the forest on. And if you notice, throughout our program, there was nobody walking in front of us right here. Yeah, that's because we try and educate all of our park visitors to stay on trail. And when you stay on trail, like that one that's way out there, you see some people walking on that trail now. And then there's this deck here that people can stand on so that they're not stepping on all of the plants or the roots, right? Because when we step on the plants and the roots, it damages the plant. It can kill the plants. It especially kills the wildflowers. Yeah. So stay on trail. We also protect plants by educating people about looking with your eyes and taking photos, and only photos. Yeah, we don't want people to pick the leaves off of plants or the flowers. We want everything to grow right where it decides to grow, just like these plants here. And these trees, which have been growing here for hundreds of years. Yes. We also do not use pesticides in California state parks. And pesticides is a form of poison that is oftentimes used to kill weeds or insects. Maybe if you've gone camping, you might have sprayed bug spray on your body to keep those ticks and mosquitoes away. You know what? I've sprayed that on my body too to protect myself from mosquitoes. So, but here in state parks, we do not spray pesticides on the plants or any of the flowers. So that helps to protect the plants and animals in our park too. And there are many other ways that we protect plants as well. We have native plant gardens. We have non-native plant removal teams. So non-native plants are plants that have been brought here by people or animals. Maybe a bird flew over and pooped in the forest and dropped some seeds, and a plant that doesn't typically grow at Henry Cowell might start growing here. Or when people walk off trail and they get those seeds stuck on their shoes and then they walk somewhere else, they're carrying those seeds from one location to another. But most of the time, non-native plants, when we say non-native plants, we're talking about traveling hundreds of miles, right? So one of the non-native plants that we have here that we're trying to get rid of is ivy, English ivy. That is not a native plant to this area. And what happens is English ivy will crawl all the way up the top of a tree and eventually kill it. So we have teams of volunteers that come to parks to try and remove non-native plants. So that's another way we can protect trees and plants in state parks. And one other way that we protect trees and plants in state parks is by doing programs about plants, just like this one that you sat through today. Yes. So hopefully you learned about plants all in one toolkit, how important plants are to our survival, and how they allow us to live safely in our habitat or our homes, right? Feel free to continue to respond and give me some of your ideas on how we can continue to prevent
plants from disappearing from parks and our neighborhoods. And for those of you who didn't have the opportunity to watch live and interact with me today in our Junior Ranger program about plants, I have one last slide that I want to share with you. Feel free to write this down if you are planning on sending me your answer. But let's see, I'm going to share. So it says, hey, what is one of the important tools in a plant's all-in-one toolkit? Now, if you're watching live, you can go ahead and type your answer in the chat box, or I should say the Q&A box. If you're not watching live and you won't have the ability to use the Q&A box, you can email me at leslie.reyes@parks.ca.gov. Don't forget to email me your answer so you can get your Junior Ranger badge. And for all of you that joined today in this program, you will get an email with your Junior Ranger badge. So let's see. I'm going to scroll through some of your answers. Yes, clean up parks. I love that one, Michelle. Protect them. Yes. Don't hurt them. You're right. We want to be nice to plants, right? Protect plants by leave no trace. That is wonderful. Yes. Good job. Yes. So some of the tools that are in the all-in-one toolkit are oxygen. Good. Let's see. One of the most important tools in that is that it provides oxygen for us. Good job, Lucia. You're right. They also provide food and clothing, medicine, shelter. They help clean our water and provide soil nutrients. You are correct with that, everybody. Good job. So we are pretty much out of time. Actually, we went a little bit over. So I just want to say thank you, Junior Rangers, for joining me today here at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park and becoming plant-powered and learning about plants and their all-in-one toolkit to help animals and you and I survive in our habitats and homes. So I hope to see you again sometime soon, and take care. Have a good rest of your Saturday, everyone. Bye.